I was around 18, and for a period of time I was very physically active. I had struggled with some bad habits brought on by excessive partying, and exercise proved very helpful in this regard. I regularly went jogging. Mind you, at the time, I lived in a small town in the ever so peaceful Scandinavia. I was out all by myself, jogging in the woods, not a soul in sight, right? So, my class didn't start until around noon, so I went out for a morning jog. Broad daylight and everything. I went on my bike to the tracks and left my bike at the jogging station. I don't know what else to call it. It was a small red cottage where different outdoor clubs hang out. As I'm about to enter the tracks, there are two middle-aged men sitting by the cottage. I glance at them, only to find myself locking eyes with one of them. The way he looked at me was deeply unsettling. It was only for a moment, but I'll never forget how I felt when his eyes pierced right through me. My gut is making an honest effort, trying to tell me that something was off about this whole situation. These men were wearing jeans and leather jackets. They sure aren't here to exercise. But I brush it off, thinking I'm overreacting, but I was wrong. I had only been jogging for a couple of minutes when I suddenly feel like turning around. And there they are, in a white minivan, following me on the tracks. I feel that the man's devilish eyes on me again. I'm doing my best, trying to think of a logical, non-threatening reason for them to follow me. I can't really think of one that makes sense, so I'm trying to work out what on earth I'm gonna do. I don't want to make it obvious that I'm downright terrified. If I start running as fast as I can, I'm turning myself into prey. No one else is here, no one at all. It won't matter how loud I scream. Fortunately, I've been on these tracks a number of times, so I know there is going to be a sharp curve not so far ahead. So I try to act as if I'm not the least bit bothered by the whole situation. As soon as I pass the curve and I'm out of their vision for a short while, I sprint into the woods as if my life depends on it and hide behind a small rock. I'm crouching down as I see the white minivan pass the sharp curve. Soon, they're out of my sight, but I don't move. I know that when they pass the curve and notice that I'm nowhere to be seen, they'll know I've run off somewhere. After the curve, the trail is in the sight of line for quite some time. They'll know I'm not on the tracks anymore. So I stay put, thinking that if they're after me, they'll come back. If I'm overreacting, they'll carry on whatever they're doing. But the white van eventually came back. At this point, my memory is a bit vague. I'm not even breathing, dreading that the slightest movement will give me away. I can't fully remember if the van stopped and the dominant man went outside, or if they simply passed the curve again very slowly, looking at me. But I do vividly remember when the little van went back where it came from. I was somewhat relieved, though I was still a bit worried. The thing is, all the tracks lead back to the cottage, where these men were likely to be. I then decide to carry on deeper into the woods, glancing over my shoulder every now and then to make sure there's no one there. My sense of direction is somewhat okay when I'm in the forest for some reason. I'm useless otherwise. Anyway, I know that there will be a highway if I just keep going. I'm reaching the highway and make my way home from there. It usually takes a half an hour walking from where I live to the tracks. This journey home took 3 to 4 hours, but it was totally worth it. But I can't remember if I ever went to pick up my bike. I didn't know what intentions these men had. I doubt they were good. So a few years ago, I used to work at a Waffle House in a college town, so weird people really aren't that unusual. To start off, there are only two 24/7 restaurants, and I worked third shift at the Waffle House. Sometimes when a person's car would break down, the police would drop them off at one of the two places. They weren't supposed to, so they dropped them off within walking distance, but not actually outside. So one night, I was working with the cook and another waitress. We'll call them Mark and Cassie. Around 11 p.m., this old guy wanders into the lobby with a little bag. First off, we don't usually get older people after around 8 or so at the latest. Second off, the dude's creepy. He starts telling us about how his car broke down on the highway and the police dropped him off in the parking lot next door. I feel bad for him because it's the middle of the night and he's not from around here and he has no money. So I pour him a coffee and don't charge him. My coworkers are usually on drugs, so I assume free coffee isn't going to get me fired. This is when the guy just starts talking my ear off, like I can barely get a word in edgewise, which is difficult since I'm usually the talker. He starts talking about what happened to him. He then tries to sell me his tools that he has in a little bag. Of course, we say no, but he keeps just asking me about it. He also starts wandering in and out of the store. The first time he does, Mark, who's ex-military, searches in his bag to make sure he doesn't have any weapons because he's starting to raise some eyebrows. There's nothing but tools though, so we feel kinda safer. Now, he's starting to talk about a lot of weird things. I tell him I'm interested in studying prisons, and he tells me the best way to do that is to get arrested. Then, he starts talking about how he used to be in prison, but he never says why. He started to make us really nervous, so I started to draw him in case the dude decides to murder us or something. We'll have something, because I'm good at drawing things I can see. There's a low, little wall where we usually write out our customer receipts, so I can draw him without him noticing. Not that it matters, since he's looking straight ahead while he talks to me. We start getting customers because it's about 1 a.m. and the bar's let out around then. And this guy keeps talking to me no matter where I am. He doesn't raise his voice or anything. He just keeps talking at the same level, even when I walk away to take care of another customer. At this point, I'm starting to think the guy's schizophrenic. I kind of want to get away, but I really can't because I'm afraid he might do something. He starts just insulting customers. He tells one kid he's fat and why he's so fat. He needs to lose weight. Then he talks to a family of travelers and said, "Your wife and kids are fine, but why are you so ugly?" We decided he has to go. Mark tells him he has to leave, and we've warned him several times to leave the other customers alone. So Mark tells him to leave or we'll call the cops. The guy starts yelling at us and glares at me a lot and asks why he should leave, but he finally does so. But he comes back a half hour later and we have to kick him out again for harassing the customers. He doesn't come back that night, so we decided he must have found a way home or contacted someone. So I finish around 7 a.m. and walk home. I live above the bars downtown, so it's a 30-minute walk, but along the way, I see the old guy. I dart behind a building and take the long way home. I don't think much of it, because hey, it's a small town and there's not a lot of places to go. I have to go to work again the next day, so I go home, sleep, and get all my clothes done. I'm pretending to be an adult as usual, so then, about a half hour before work, the Waffle House calls me, and my coworker Kevin tells me that the old guy has been coming around several times during the day, every couple of hours looking for me. I'm a 23-year-old female, so they're worried about what he wants. I call my friend Jason and tell him why I need a ride, and he brings me in. I ask him what's been going on, and apparently this guy has been in at least 10 times asking about me. He never says why, he just says that he wants to talk to me. So I'm on edge, waiting because I have no idea what this guy wants. Is this 60-year-old guy pissed off I didn't defend him when he was kicked out? Is he asking for me just because I told him my name, or is there something else? Surprisingly, for the first few hours of my shift, we don't see him, but he eventually comes in and ignores me. I'm super confused, but I keep an eye on him again. I also brought pepper spray. Before long though, we kick him out again for harassing the customers. It's very confusing for me. He asks for me all day, and then ignores me when he does come in. But after we kick him out, he doesn't come back. When my shift ends, my friends asked if I need a ride, and I tell him no. The guy has left and hasn't come back, so I'm good. Well, that's what I thought, until I saw him walking towards me at work. He yells out for me and starts coming at me, but I run into another building I know has an entrance/exit. I sneak out another way before the guy can find me, and thanking God that I know the town way better than him. I still have no idea what he wants, but I'm not taking any chances. I sneak home some back way, and I finally get there. I call work and let them know what happened, and ask for the next few days off. They agree, and later tell me that the old guy kept coming in the next few days, and then finally they called the police and they took him away. Okay, so this happened this summer, and I still can't take my mind off the whole situation. It's by far the most scariest thing that's ever happened to me. First things first, I'm a female and I'm 20 years old. I live in a small village in England. It's beautiful, and I've lived there all my life, so I have many good memories here. In June, I started walking the neighboring village every day, which took maybe around 25 minutes to walk. The village is a lot more old-fashioned and has a lot of history. The journey was fun for me because I love the countryside. It's a beautiful place and it interests me quite a bit. As soon as you left my village, you would be walking on country lanes that followed you to the other village. Usually, I would leave my house at around 11 a.m. and start heading back to my own village roughly about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I went alone most of the time, apart from the weekends when I would go with close friends. Both my village and this village only consisted of houses, parks, and churches. You know, all sorts of stuff. When I went alone, I sat at a beautiful park and would sit on a picnic bench and read a book or sit on my phone for hours. I even brought a phone case that charges my phone just so my phone wouldn't run out of charge. I did this for a month until mid-July when I went shopping and sat at a pub at the closest city with my friends on a Thursday. This meant that I didn't go to my village at my usual time. I got back quite late, maybe around 9 p.m. I don't know what was going through my mind, but I decided that I would go to the village tonight due to the fact that I wasn't tired and was in a good mood. I left my house at about 9:30 and started heading there. It was getting quite dark, so when I left my village and entered the country lanes, I got my flashlight on my phone up. I was walking for about 5 to 10 minutes before I realized that what I was doing was stupid. Walking the country lanes at this time of night was never a good idea. Stupidly, I continued. It was no longer than 2 minutes later that I noticed a silhouette in the distance. It was standing about 20 yards away, next to a sign that told you which direction you can turn. I felt pretty awkward because I didn't want to pass this person at this time of night, especially on my own. I crossed the road to walk the opposite side, and the person was just standing there, and they were staring at the ground. As I got closer, I could make out what they were wearing. It was a man wearing a black hoodie, tracksuit bottoms, and some muddy trainers. I got closer and closer, and when he finally knew I was there, he looked up and stared at me. For some reason, I stared back but carried on walking. I shrugged him off and was walking straight for 10 seconds until I heard him walking behind me. I turned around and he had crossed the road to my side. I then noticed his face. I was terrified and disgusted. He looked like he had been on drugs most of his life and was now in his mid-30s. I couldn't turn around now. I was halfway there and knew for a fact that he would follow me home if I did. I didn't know what to do. I still had at least 10 minutes of walking left, and I was in the middle of nowhere. No people were around, and the closest building was in the village. I had no friends in the area either, so I couldn't go to anybody's house. I started walking faster, but so did he. I was petrified at this point. Things like this don't happen to people like me, or that's what I thought. I started crying a little, and then I heard him say in the most terrifying and evil tone I've ever heard, "You can't escape me, young lady." I started running and screaming. I don't know how to explain it, but I couldn't control my screaming. It was like I was automatically doing it, if that makes sense. He started running too, and he was much faster than me. Could this whole scenario get any worse? I thought to myself. I slowed down, extremely out of breath. I cursed my asthma for this. Tears were streaming down my face, and I felt like I was going to collapse. Then, this creep grabs me, and I fall to the floor, screaming louder than I've ever screamed before. I don't know how I could have possibly screamed like this, considering I was out of breath and having a panic attack. He was lying on top of me, and he was so heavy and smelt so bad I could have thrown up. I couldn't see his face as well anymore due to the tears in my eyes. I paused for a second, then he whispered into my ear, "I won't hurt you, but I will break your neck if you continue to scream like that." Regardless of what he had just said, I continued for what felt like an eternity. I heard a car heading towards us in the distance. I screamed, "Help me!" I felt a lot of relief when I heard the car slowing down. "Help me, please," I continued. The guy got off me and sprinted off into the cornfield. A man and a woman stepped out of the car. They weren't much older than I was, and they asked what happened. I told them the whole situation, stuttering and gasping for air. The woman sat with me and gave me some water, and luckily she had an inhaler. The man shouted for the creep, who we could still see sprinting extremely fast down the field, then took off after him. They both took me home, and I thank them both ever so much for helping me. God knows what could have happened to me if they didn't stop or ever notice me. I told my friends about the whole event, and a lot of people met me during the weekend to comfort me. The police were notified, but unfortunately the creep was never caught. I didn't have a good enough explanation of his face, and of course, there was no CCTV footage in that area. Of course, I never walk the streets, especially at country lanes after dark anymore. I only visit the village every week now since this event, and I only ever go with my close friend Courtney. My lesson here is that no matter how safe your area may sound, there is always bad people around, and you should never walk the streets at this time alone. How's it going, everybody? I hope you enjoyed that video there. It's kind of thrown together last minute. I'm actually getting ready to go on a trip right now. I'll get into explaining it here in just a second. I know the video was kind of short, but I'm kind of just strapped for time getting ready for the trip. If you watched in one of my most recent videos, I think the last time I did put a thing at the end of the video to close it out, I talked about a trip we're going on, or I'm going on, and to stay tuned to my vlog channel and check it out, because we're going to be vlogging some pretty cool stuff. Anyway, we're actually leaving tonight, which I'll try to get the video posted tomorrow, so we'll already be where we're headed to. Because I'm going to be out of town, I'm actually not going to be able to put out a video for the next probably week and a half on this Horror Dimension channel. But if you guys want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, Halloween related, actual video footage of things, be sure to go and check out my vlog channel, or my second channel. I'll post a link down in the description, and you guys go be sure to check it out. If you want to subscribe, I'm gonna be posting videos, vlogs from the whole trip that I'm getting ready to go on for the next 9 days. And also I've been reading the comments lately, and I've been seeing people telling me to open up a Twitter or start a Twitter for the channel, and I actually just did a couple days ago, but I haven't really advertised it much. So I'll also, if you want to keep up with me on the trip, I'll post my Twitter username below. I couldn't actually get the Horror Dimension, so it kind of sucks. I think it was already taken. I don't know how it was already taken, but I got something similar. But I'll post my Twitter info in the comments below. Be sure to go check that channel out, and check out and follow me on Twitter to keep up with what I'm doing. And also, too, I'll post updates on when I'm going to be back, and when my next video on this channel will be. Like I said, it probably won't be for another week and a half. I'll try my best to get one up, but I can't promise anything. I didn't want to post this video and then just completely disappear for a week and a half. And two, I wanted to let you guys know about my second channel. I know I've talked about it before, but I don't know if all of you have heard or seen it, checked it out, whatever. But yeah, be sure, if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, go check out, subscribe to the second channel. Pretty much gonna be a vlog every day that I'm there, because we're gonna be doing pretty cool stuff the whole time. I don't want to spoil anything. I just want you guys to go check it out. We're gonna be visiting some haunted attractions, like Halloween haunted attractions, and then we're actually gonna be visiting some legit haunted locations. So that's gonna be pretty cool. All that's gonna be posted on the vlog channel. I'm not gonna bother posting it on here because I don't really want to post anything that's not horror narration related. But yep, if you're interested in seeing that, just go check out the channel and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys soon.